I see there are quite a lot of folks out here, and let me move this so I can just see where everybody's at. All right, so we've got quite a few people. This was super exciting to see all of the areas from Charleston down on the coast to right here in Raleigh, out in Charlotte, High Point, all throughout South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg, Columbia, and all throughout the Carolinas. So welcome everyone to the first ever Carolinas virtual Tableau user group. I am one of the co-leaders. My name is Christopher Scott. I am one of the co-leaders of not only this Carolinas virtual Tableau user group, but also a co-leader of the Raleigh-Durham Tableau user group. We've got a few of the user group leaders from Charlotte and from here in Raleigh and in the Triad on the phone here, and I'll give them a chance to introduce themselves in just a minute. But before we do that, to kind of get intros off the way and why you're here and how this kind of all got started. The genesis of this happened actually after the first time that I went to the Charlotte Tableau user group, and William Aubrey, who you will all meet in just a few minutes, he and I got to talking afterwards of course, at a local pub there. And so we got to talking about how amazing it would be to do a virtual Tableau user group, because there were folks that were coming from the northern part of South Carolina up to Charlotte. We have folks come to the Raleigh-Durham Tableau user group from out in Kernersville and in Wilmington. We even have folks from Wilmington come out. So we know that, we thank you so much to every single one of you who drives, an hour, 2 hours just to come and meet up in person to the Tableau user group. Your presence in this community is A, why we do this, and B, why we really wanted to just say thank you, because we do value your participation in our user group. So if you are coming and you're driving more than an hour to get to one of our user groups, please come and see me or anybody on the leadership team. Come and see William or anybody there. We want to kind of celebrate your involvement in our community, coming out in person. We'll give you some extra special swag at the next user group. So kind of to follow that up, why we created this virtual user group. So we had this idea, but we just couldn't find anywhere central. Yes, probably the Triad would be great, and we certainly, both William and I, we love the leadership there in the Greensboro, Winston Triad, Piedmont Triad user group. But just physically, it's really hard to get everybody in one space. So thankfully, a few months ago, Jordan Scott, our amazing Tableau community manager, who basically none of the user groups or anything will be possible without her. So thank you so much, Jordan, for all that you do and continue to do. And so without her, it was her kind of idea to come up with this virtual user group. And so we said, that's perfect. That's the one way we can all get together, kind of share some ideas, some really cool things that are coming up in Tableau, but also get everybody from, again, the coast to the mountains and even the southernmost tips of South Carolina in one place and really enjoy the benefits of this great community here in Carolina. So without further ado, I do want to introduce my other co-leader for this session, William Aubrey.
Hey, thanks, Christopher. William Aubrey here with Charlotte Tableau user group. Also very excited to be participating in this virtual user group. I think we've got a bright future for this community. Charlotte Tableau user group, we kicked it off in 2015. We've had about 30 plus events. Everyone is always welcome to any of the Tableau user groups. You're always welcome to come to Charlotte. You're no less than, well, if you're on the coast, you're probably about 6 hours away from Charlotte. So you'll have to go to Christopher's meetings for that, but always welcome and happy to be here. Thanks, Christopher.
Absolutely. Sorry, put myself on mute there. But yeah, as William said, you are more than welcome. And I know I saw a few folks from Boone there, and there's some folks I know in Wilmington. If you are interested in starting up a Tableau user group in your little section of the state, either North Carolina or South Carolina, talk to, again, Jordan is on this call. You can reach out to us and we'll help you get a user group started. I am very happy to drive up to Boone or drive down to Wilmington to speak or any of those things, really help you get off the ground. So if this is something you want to do, please approach us. That's also why we're here. We want to avail ourselves as a resource in getting started. And I want to throw another plug out there for the Piedmont Triad Tableau user group. So John David and Bonnie McLean, they are doing a fantastic job. I know they just had a user group meeting a few weeks ago. And William, you just had a user group meeting for October, but you've got another one coming up in November, right?
Yes, absolutely. November 5th, downtown Uptown Charlotte at Slalom's new headquarters. So my colleague Jeremy Poole will be is an employee at Slalom. He'll be hosting us along with Slalom. I'm sure we will have links after this call to all these events, so posted somewhere on Splash or accessible to everybody.
Yes. Yeah, so that's a great segue. We are going to create within the Tableau the Tableau Splash page, our hubs. We will have a hub for the Carolinas virtual Tableau user group, and we will post links out to all three of the Carolinas, the North Carolina ones, and any other South Carolina user group that wants to be part of it. We will happily put the user groups out on the hub, so you can access any of them. If you happen to be in Charlotte for a business trip and you want to go and visit their user group or vice versa, you are more than welcome at any of the user groups. So I also wanted to let everybody know, for those of you that are coming to Tableau conference, we are very excited. Unfortunately this year we're not hosting another TUG specific meetup there, but we will be at a lot of the events throughout the week. So specifically talking about the community meet and greet, that will be on Thursday from 3:30 to 4 o'clock p.m. We will also be at the user group session, which is on Friday afternoon. I think it is the last session of the conference. So we're going to end it with a bang with the user group session. Another tip and trick contest. I was glad to be a part of the very first tip contest and Biz Tips contest, and it was the most amazing experience at Tableau conference I've had in the past 4 years I've been. So you definitely will not want to miss that if you are coming out to Tableau conference in Vegas. That's the 11th through the 15th in Las Vegas, Nevada. I will be out there at any one of the community events. Come up and see me, see our amazing ambassadors and Zen masters in the Tableau community. So feel free to come up and find me, find any of us that are there within the user group leader community. So without further ado, I do want to turn it over to Kent Martin, who is with Tableau, and he is going to be talking about all of the wonderful new mapping features in Tableau. And I will turn it over to you, Kent. Give your intro and start your session whenever. And before you do, just remind you, we will be monitoring the chat and the Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to use either the chat or the Q&A. Thank you. Kent, it's all you.
All right, thanks, Christopher. Yeah, this morning, it's morning for me. I'm out here in Seattle at Tableau headquarters. But this is my second time in the Carolinas. I was once in the Carolinas as a teenager as I drove down on a road trip from Toronto, where I'm from. You know, I like to reference a lot of geography because I'm a geographer. So yeah, from Toronto originally, and I've spent a lot of time in Southern California, where I worked for a GIS mapping software company called Esri for about 10 years. And then after that, I came up to the Northwest, and I'm here in Seattle, and I've been with Tableau for about 5 years. So yeah, let me jump into my slide deck here. I'm going to share my screen and take over from what Chris was showing, I think. We'll see if this all just works out. Okay, so I should be sharing, and you should see my screen right there. Let me just minimize the picture of myself. It's distracting. So yeah, I'm going to talk about mapping in Tableau today. And I know there's a couple hundred people on the call, And one thing that's kind of tricky with the subject of mapping in Tableau is, you can go from really basic sort of capabilities and discussion to really advanced topics that take a little bit more than maybe the time that we have today to really dive into. But I'm going to cover a few demos and show off some of the features that have been released over the last couple of years because they're things that people always ask me about. This is my first virtual Tableau user group, but I presented at, I think, 8 other user groups at this point. So I'm really familiar with the community and like to be really engaged with the community. You can see here my email and Twitter handle. If ever you feel the need to reach out or you're stuck on something, you can always ping me. That's cool. So for this session, as I talk about the number of mapping capabilities, one thing I want to highlight is just how much we're doing in this space in Tableau. So even going back to, say, version 10, which was sort of the first major version that I worked on at Tableau, where we built the spatial file connector, allow you to connect to shape files and GeoJSON and these formats. Since then, we've really tried to accelerate and build a lot of the building blocks to allow you to do some sophisticated analysis in Tableau. So we've added Spatial Join, features like the density mark type or heat maps, but also things like set actions, which aren't necessarily, and even the density mark type, right? Not necessarily map-specific features, but these are all things that allow you to build really interactive and interesting sort of exploratory analysis when working with maps. So if we look at just this year, in 2019, we've had a couple of major releases. The 2019.2 release really included a lot in the box. So we added some new spatial functions to Tableau to make it easier to work with latitudes and longitude fields, which is what I'm going to show you in just a little bit. We've also added our second native connector to spatial data from a database. So where Tableau supports connecting to spatial data from SQL Server, the 2019.2 version supports connecting to PostGIS and Postgres spatial data. And then that release also included our new maps, vector tiles, new styles, and new layers that you can turn on in the background as well to provide you the right kind of context for your visualizations. And then in the 2019.3 release, we continue to work on extending the spatial functions that we support in the product, one of which is the distance calculation, and then we also extended the make point calculation to support projected coordinates, so not just latitudes and longitudes, but if you work with, say, North Carolina state plane coordinate systems that may take coordinates in feet, you'd be able to use that data as well to generate spatial objects in Tableau. So this is just a brief overview of some of the things we've been working on and some of the larger sets of features that we've built in the past. And I want to say, like, at the end of the conversation, if people have questions about any of these things, feel free to reach out. But now I'm going to go ahead and jump into a couple of demos that I've built and talk through working with spatial data and doing some exploration of these data sets. So let me do that. I always like to start from scratch when I do a demo. I always feel like it's a little bit more authentic. Excuse me. So in this first demo, what I want to do is basically build a map that allows you to drill down between native spatial data. So like custom geographies. In this case, I'm going to look at county data and census tract data for the state of Nevada. So let's go ahead and jump to a worksheet. Now in this worksheet, again, I'm looking at the county level data, which I got. This is just a shapefile of data, and I probably downloaded this from the US Census. I get a lot of data from the census or data.gov in the US. These open data portals are everywhere, so there's really no shortage of custom geography data sets that you can find and explore. So here I have county level data for Nevada. And the thing that I want to explore is I want to look at mobility basically where are people moving to in the state of Nevada? Like if they're coming from out of state, where are they going to? I have some theories about that, but I want to go explore the data and build an interactive experience. So the first thing I'm going to do is get this census tract data connected as well. So I can bring out my census tract shapefile. The join doesn't work because it's trying to do a spatial join between two polygon data sets, and that's not supported in Tableau. Spatial join only works between points and polygons. But I can join these data based on their common identifiers, the FIPS codes. And I know that the geo ID in the census tract table includes the FIPS code in the first 5 characters. So I'll say, okay, the join works. And now I can see I have access to both tables and both spatial fields. If I just drag the census level data and replace it, you can see those census tracts show up here in more detail, right? But again, the experience that I want to create here isn't one where, as an author, I have to go and drag these fields back and forth, right? I want the drill through like a hierarchy type experience where I can interact with the data, but not have to drag these pills back and forth. Especially for a consumer, if I publish or share a dashboard, I need some way for the person who's interacting with my visualization to be able to drill down as they see fit. So let's go ahead and build it out. So what I'm going to need in this table, I can see I'm already using a workbook from which I was playing with this, but I'm going to go ahead and create another parameter. We'll call this geography 2 and make it a string, a list. County will be one of the values in the parameter, and census tract will be the other value. I'll say okay, and I can show this control. Let's bring it over here on the viz. So I can see right now it says county. That's the value in which I'm going to toggle to change the level of geography, the level of detail of the visualization. So I need 2 more calculated fields, one to control the actual geometry on the viz, and one to control the level of detail that's associated with the geometry. So I'll create a calculated field, and I'll call this parameter geography. And it's going to say, if geography 2, that parameter I just created, equals county, then I want you to use the geometry field, which I know comes from the county table. Else, I want you to use the geometry field, which comes from the census tract table. Okay, that's valid. I'm going to copy this because the logic is going to be the same for controlling the level of detail on the viz. I'll say okay. And I can bring this parameter geography out here onto the viz. And then I'm going to go ahead and create that second calculated field. And this is parameter detail. I can paste the same logic. So again, if the geography 2 parameter says county, in this case, I want to use the county FIPS code as the level of detail. If it's not county, meaning it's the census tracts, I'm going to use the geo ID. Okay. And now I can replace, or I can bring that onto detail, onto the viz. So what happens now when I use my parameter? Now it's the parameter that's controlling the drill through experience, not me dragging and dropping fields, right? So I can simply go back and forth. That's great. Let's zoom out to the state of Nevada. Now, I mentioned before I wanted to talk about mobility, and one of these data sets that comes from the American Community Survey, where it looks at mobility of people who are moving into Nevada. Well, I'm going to go ahead and add that text file. So American Community Survey, geographic mobility. And here I'm going to join it by GeoID equals to GOID3, and we'll make that a string. And there we go. So when I jump back to the sheet, now when I look at my list of measures, I'll have to expand this a little bit. I can look at all these attributes, which I just downloaded from the American Community Survey. And I want to look at, let's see here, maybe the percentage of people that, or the number of people that moved from a different state that are aged 25 to 34, right? So sort of postgraduate folk who are moving there, certainly people younger than me. And I'll bring this onto the viz. Okay, and you can see here, right, as you might expect, if you know a little bit about the geography of Nevada, you know, I can tell that there's a number of people moving in and around this county here, which includes North Lake Tahoe, and then of course Clark County, which includes Las Vegas. But when we drill down into the data, you can see it's not quite the same picture at all, right? It's not completely in and around Clark County. It's of course focused in a few specific areas, one of which right down here in the tip is not near Las Vegas. But let's go ahead and zoom into the Las Vegas region and take a look at where people are moving to. So even though this is a large geography, it's still a darker shade of blue, where there's a lot of people moving out to that region. And there's a few other little pockets. Again, like being able to drill down here allows me this granular view of the data, allows me to explore it and ask some different questions. I'm going to focus in on this big region over here because I'm kind of curious about it. It is the outskirts a little bit of Las Vegas, and I don't really know it that well. And I'm headed there to Tableau conference in just a few weeks. But why don't we change the map style? Instead of being just the normal style, we'll use satellite and look at what's actually on the ground. I can adjust opacity here a little bit and maybe sharpen up the border that comes through just a little bit. But now I can see, well, there's clearly a stadium or track out here. And actually, yeah, this looks like the Motor Speedway. Yeah, I mean, I guess folks in the Carolinas maybe are NASCAR fans. Maybe it's people from the Carolinas moving out here to get close to the Speedway. I have no idea, but there you go. Probably some other type of development happening in and around here in Las Vegas. But we've accomplished what we set out to do, right? We allowed you to control the level of detail of the viz on a map with custom geographies through a parameter. And now there are other ways in which you could do this as well. You could use set actions to create a drill through experience that would allow you to touch a mark and drill through. Let me know if you're interested in an example of that, and I can provide a workbook. But I'm going to show my next example in my next demo. I'm going to use some set actions to produce an interesting result. So that's a parameter-driven drill through example. I bring this up here, not because it's a new feature, it's because it's always asked about. Every time I talk with Tableau customers, they always ask about this kind of experience that they want to build. I'm going to go ahead, rename that sheet mobility. So let's start a new sheet. Excuse me. And in this example, I'm going to look at some bike share data in New York City. So I'm going to say new data source. I have a text file of city bike pickup and drop off locations. I'll call this sheet bike share. And let me just clean up the data a little bit here. I'm going to take my station IDs and make those dimensions. But just to give you a sense of the data, I have pickups for 5 different stations. So if I bring the station onto the viz, here you can see those 5 locations. This is where people are picking up bicycles. Great. But with this data set, I also have the ending locations, so the drop-offs. And I want to understand where are the pickups, where are the drop-offs, and sort of get a sense of the distances traveled by bicycles from where they originally picked up their origination. So let me go ahead and build out this visualization that can show both pickup and drop-off locations in the same viz, but also visualize the entire origin destination path, like the route itself. Not the by the street route, but the as the crow flies pickup and drop-off. So to do that, I'm going to need 3 new calculated fields, and I'm going to use some of those spatial functions that I mentioned earlier. So the first one I'm going to build is the origin, and I can use the make point function. So make point will turn a latitude and longitude pair for the starting point and turn those into a spatial object. And spatial objects are what we can do more analysis with. You'll see here in just a moment. So here we have the origin. Now I'm going to create the destination. Again, I can use make point. I'm going to say the end, latitude and longitude. Great. And then there's one other field I want to make, which are the routes. And in this case, I'm going to use the other new spatial function in 2019-2 called make line, which takes an origin and destination. Of course, I could have just embedded make point lat long in both of these, but it makes it a little cleaner to work with the data set. Great. Now from here, let's go ahead and just clear the viz. I'm going to rebuild it, but using all the spatial fields that I've just created. So I can go ahead and add origin. I'm going to turn this to be a circle, and I'll use that starting station name or ID is fine. Increase the size of that there. I'll create a second pane or view of the data. Instead of having the origin on the view, I can go ahead and grab the destination. And then I'm going to take the end station ID or name, it doesn't matter. And I can see all the drop-off locations. I'm going to make these a little bit smaller and make them stand out a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and I can fold these axes on top of each other to see both the pickup locations and the drop-off locations. Of course, from this view, right, you can't tell which drop-off point is associated with which origin. So how do we do that? Well, we can use that routes spatial object, right, which included the origin destination, and I can just drag that onto the viz. Of course, I need to use a map mark type, not a circle mark type, and I can see the actual spatial objects, right? So that's cool. In fact, this kind of looks like, what's that game where you pick up sticks or something, right, where they're all scattered? It's a bit of a mess to look at, but what if I wanted to focus this analysis down to just individual stations, and I could see where the bikes ended up when they were picked up at a certain station and start to explore the data in that way. Let's go ahead and do that. So with this, I'm going to go ahead and start by creating a set, and we're going to use a set action to create this interaction. So I'm going to use a set on the start station name, say create, and yeah, for this one, these are just the starting stations. I'll leave the set empty for now. And then what else am I going to need? I'm going to need a calculated field, right, that allows me to show either the stations or the routes from that station. So create calculated field. We're going to say stations or routes. And I can say if the starting stations set, so if the value's in that set, then, or if it's not in that set, then I'm going to, what do I call this one? Routes, of course, else show the origin. Yeah, that should make sense. And then I'm going to bring this field, which is going to control which geometry is used on the viz, and put it right here. I'm also going to make, put the station name on here because that's what I used to create the set. So that's going to need to be on the viz. Okay, so we have the start here. I've replaced my destination with this dynamic geometry now. And then I'm going to go ahead on the worksheet and add an action. Change set values. And in this case, I basically want to say show or hide the routes. On selection, when using this data source and controlling my starting station set, when I clear the selection, let's say keep the set values. Okay. Now let's try it out. Hopefully I've done everything I need to do. Right? So you can see now when I touch one of the origins, now I get a lot more cleaner view looking at the actual drop-off locations for each of the bike rides. I can move around the city. You can see a lot of these routes end in here in Manhattan. And it's sort of interesting to explore. But of course, it's not all in Manhattan. I would have thought a lot more would have ended up near Central Park. Of course, the nearby station here is all over the Manhattan sort of island. It's interesting to explore. So that's a way in which origin destination mapping and working with latitudes and longitudes
Hey everybody, just be patient. I think the internet up there in Seattle may be being worked on. Looks like, yeah, Kent may have lost internet there. So he'll be back in just a moment. So we'll keep going as soon as Kent gets back.
Should we just go ahead and jump into the next presentation, or give Kent a minute?
Let's give Kent. He's got until 12:45. So let's give him just a minute or two. Thank you all for your patience. Again, if you have any questions, we will. You can shoot them our way either in the chat. There's a lot of chat going on. But in the Q&A section, some really cool stuff going on in the new mapping in 2019.3. So we're really excited there.
We have had a couple of questions come through, Christopher. Why don't we address a couple of those?
Oh, there it is.
We will make available presentations, links, and the recording will also be available to all participants. We'll make that available, Christopher, I think you said on the hub site for the VTUG. Also, as you mentioned, we will have a Q&A session at the end of this call. So anyone who would like to hang out and join us for questions and answers, we'll be happy to stick around. I think those are the main two questions that have been coming through so far. Perfect.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this in my opening session. If you are in the Raleigh-Durham area, or even any further out, we are hosting our end of 2019 session on Tuesday, December 3rd. Again, we will post all of these in the hub that is on splashstat.com. So feel free to look that up. We will share, and then we will also share out the meeting notes as well. We've got another question, the worksheet, reverse engineer. I don't know what all Kent will and can share, but certainly if he can, he will be glad to send out any of that. There he is.
Hey, Christopher, can you hear me?
We certainly can, yes. Can you hear us?
Hey there, everyone.
All right.
Christopher and William, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Christopher. Can't.
Yeah, we can hear you, bud.
All right, I can see in the chat that you're saying you can hear me.
Yes. So get started where you left off.
Rebooted. And I'm going to try to get back to where I was as quickly as possible. Here is proof that my computer just rebooted. Click report, send it to Apple. You know what? Fix it yourself, Apple. I'm not sharing that right now. Privacy. Okay, back in Zoom. That's my email. Don't share that out with anyone. I can get back to the point where I was at here. I actually had pre-built this workbook as well. So I think I was somewhere around here. Somebody just speak up because I can't see the chat while I'm doing the demo because I have that minimized. So if I'm way off base, let me know.
Yep.
All right,
Can you hear
so
us?
we're back.
Ken?
We're looking at bike shares. Latitudes and longitudes are easy. Let me just make sure. Kudos to Ken for rapid recovery. Cheers to you, William, for being so positive. Let me close that down. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show was if I can look at all this latitude and longitude and pick up and drop off locations, right? I kind of said I expected more to be in Manhattan, but what if we actually wanted to analyze sort of drop off locations by the neighborhoods in which people actually dropped the bikes off at? You know, it's not just the stations so much, but like what's the neighborhood view of this? Well, let's go ahead and build that up. I'm going to say new sheet, and I'm going to say data source, spatial file. I have the New York neighborhoods GeoJSON file, and I am going to add and join together with the city pickups locations. Now this is where the make point is really, really useful, because now make point will allow you to do a spatial join between a spatial table, the GeoJSON table in this case, and a non-spatial table, just my CSV, because I can make a spatial object by supplying the latitude and longitude. So in this case, I want to look at the end station because I want to see where these bikes are being dropped off. Say okay. Now I can use intersects, and there we go. When I go back to sheet 7, right, I can use and look at the neighborhoods in New York City. You know, this is the data that I have. Actually, let me go back to the data source and make it a left, just so I can see all the neighborhoods. I know I only had a subset of stations, but this gives a sort of more comprehensive view of the New York City geography. And I'm just going to pin this map for a second. Okay, now I can bring on the actual neighborhood name just as the level of detail. So I've disaggregated all the geometries. And then I could bring a number of records onto color and actually see if, yeah, I thought a lot of the drop-offs would be in Manhattan, but they're actually over here, which I think is actually Brooklyn, if I'm correct. I might not be. So that's interesting, but what have we done here? We've aggregated the drop-off locations, so we know where most bikes are being dropped off from these 5 stations, and we can only really do this analysis taking the latitude and longitude data if we use that spatial function. So it's a really easy way to do spatial aggregation by leveraging these new functions. Then, of course, from here, I could go and do some other types of analysis, like look at maybe a time of day type of data. And I can only do subsequent analysis because I've been able to do that spatial join. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. I could bring start time out here onto columns, and we'll go by the hour. And then I could bring, you know, neighborhood name onto rows. I could bring number of records onto color. I could sort this data by number of records. You know, I could even add that borough name over here. And if I could figure out how to move my zoom controls, I'm going to say fit the width. Oh, I think I need to do this the other way, sort. Sorry, my zoom control panel is just in the way here. I'll move it right out. Okay, let's get back to this view. I won't worry about adjusting the width at this moment. And then from here, if I go on to, you know, make a dashboard that's interactive, you could see how, make that automatic size just for a second. Let's get rid of these titles, just create some more space. And what am I missing here? I wanted to add those boroughs. Let's go back to sheet 8. The borough name. Right, so there's the Bronx. So maybe we should do some number of records right there. Right, so when I click on Brooklyn, and I can say use this as a filter. Right, now I see only the Brooklyn area. Of course, I could zoom down here, click on Manhattan. I see only the Manhattan area and so forth. But all of this analysis, again, made possible because I can work with latitudes and longitudes in a spatial join now and do that kind of aggregation. So that's really what I wanted to highlight, sort of the power of these new spatial functions and how they can open up some new types of analysis. When my machine crashed there was one other thing I wanted to show. Let me go back to, that didn't save all the way. Let me go back to a pre-built sheet that I had and just show one other thing. And that is, you know, where I have routes, right, where I'm making the routes. Well, what if I actually wanted to look at measuring the actual distance of, you know, how far the bike got from the origin? So I can put in a distance calc. You know, prior to 2019.3 in Tableau, you had to write or probably copy and paste some trigonometry from the Tableau forums. But now it's really easy. There's another distance field in here, distance function. And now I can say origin, destination, and I can provide any type of units. I could write kilometers, I could write miles, and that's all valid. I'll say okay. And then with my distance calc, then I could put this on color. And I put that on the wrong sheet. Go to this one, distance calc. That's aggregated. And I want to put on the end station ID. Here we are. Now we're into the weeds, and I've clearly gone off script. But this is right. Tableau does not support mixed geometry, and obviously I'm trying to show both a point and a line at the same time from the same field, and Tableau does not render that from the same field. So I'll cancel out of that part. But it's easy to write the calc. If I go to a new sheet, you know, these are obviously all the distances taken. I think there was a bike trip, or I could just look at the starting station name. And you can basically see, you know, the people that are picking up bicycles from this station, the West 120th and Claremont Ave, are typically traveling farther than bikes that are picked up from the other ones. So again, easy to work with distances and explore sort of the information provided by this sort of proximity-based information. Okay, so I've got through the bike example, showing you some spatial functions. The drill through example, I'm not sure exactly how I'm doing on time, but let me just jump back to the deck and highlight a few things that I wanted to talk about just on the roadmap, and then maybe we can do some of the Q&A at this point. So yeah, our roadmap, on this particular slide does not show a lot of specifics. And I can tell you why it doesn't show specifics, because we're going to announce some things in 2 weeks at TC, and so I want to keep those under wraps. But just generally, I can share sort of what we're doing, what we're thinking about. So one thing is just desktop and web parity. So for those of you using Tableau Server, Tableau Online, there are a number of things that you can't yet do as an author on those platforms that you can do in desktop. And we want to close the gap there. And in 2019.4, I can tell you, we've released the map layers pane. So that pane that allows you to choose map styles and turn on and off layers. You can do all that authoring now in the browser. We want to work on more spatial functions. You can see how useful they are and how quickly you can build out and work with other types of features in Tableau. Like we see spatial functions again as building blocks. So with set actions and now parameter actions, with calculations, you can have this dynamic control of things all through selections or what you're doing on the viz. So we want to build out more of these types of functions as well. Spatial data sources, obviously you can't really do spatial analysis if you can't connect to or work with your data sets. It's certainly a lot harder if you have to go through sort of pre-processing or ETL just to get data ready for Tableau. So we like to make these other connections to native spatial sources really easy. One of those is going to be Esri REST services. So I know for folks that are familiar with a little bit more advanced mapping platform, Esri ArcGIS, it's very popular amongst state and local government and within the public sector especially. But there's a lot of open data and published services that are available for use. But right now, there's no easy way to bring that into Tableau without, again, some of this sort of pre-processing. But we're going to build a native web data connector for Tableau and allow you to connect to these sources. If people want to see that, you can just say so in the chat, and I'll let William and Chris decide whether or not I should do another little demo there. And then, of course, in Tableau Prep, we want to bring sort of spatial and sort of get it to be first class across the entire Tableau stack. And right now, Tableau Prep is focused on some different use cases, but we want to make sure that you can do some of this analysis and leverage the power of Prep. So we want to bring spatial into that product as well. I do have to say, everything I've said, it may not come to pass. We may decide to do something completely different. This is the fine print, right? Don't hold anything I've said against me, but know that if we don't do these things and something went terribly adrift, or we were told to do something else and there was a battle about it. But I know the things that are on this slide, and there's several other things that, again, I can't really talk about at this point in time that we're working on that I know are going to benefit folks. So the last slide I have here is really just a call for help from people like you who are really engaged and invested in the community. If you're interested in testing early versions of the product, please let me know, or let Christopher know, or just reach out in any way. And when it comes to like this Esri REST services connector, when it comes to some of the new spatial functions and some of the larger changes we're making to the product, those are all things that we really want to validate with our customers. And so for those of you who are interested or have the time or who are familiar with working with any of the beta versions or pre-release versions, please just, again, feel free to raise your hand, send a note, and I'll make sure to reach out to you when we're ready to get some early feedback on things. We've had a lot of success with these early feedback programs and getting things to high quality and sort of at the standard in which we want to release them at. So I think that's all I wanted to show you. And hopefully I covered enough of what people are interested in and showed you a few new things that maybe you might try and explore yourself. So thank you for taking the time. And I'm going to, I guess, open it up for questions. And again, I apologize for my machine crashing halfway through everything. All right.
Ken, thank you so much for that presentation. I think we're going to just try to
Sure.
jump right into the next
Yeah.
one. And I think can you stay with us until 10:30? Is that when your cutoff is?
All righty.
Okay, oh, you can't hear us. Okay, folks, I'm going to jump right into
All
the
right,
next
Chris, do
presentation.
you want to manage the Q&A, or I don't think you can hear our audio. I certainly cannot hear anyone else's audio. Why is that?
So, Jordan, perhaps we can get Kent a message via a Slack channel or something to let him know that he's not able to hear anybody.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen at the moment.
And we'll just jump right into the next presentation. Okay. All right, folks. I was looking through the attendee list, and I noticed a couple of participants. The most difficult thing starting a Tableau user group is finding a location. And two of the participants today, Bethany Patterson and Charity St. John, they are our gracious hosts at Akuma America, and many thanks to them for hosting us for the last 3 years since 2016 at their facility in South Charlotte. So thank you, Bethany and Charity. I'm going to try to burn through this presentation pretty quickly. This is, I call this the new breed of data professional. So if you can disregard the pretentious title, we're going to talk about what kind of a new emerging opportunity that exists for Tableau developers. I like to frame this in the context of my own personal career. So I started doing data-related tasks in 1994, working for a manufacturing facility. And what happened very quickly was that was the advent of Windows 3.1, Lotus 123, and a lot of old school tools that I'm dating myself with. But there was a big jump in productivity that occurred at that time, and there's a parallel that we can draw now with the latest set of tools like Tableau, Tableau Prep Builder, and tools that are built for on the cloud that lower the barrier to entry in both cost and in technical complexity. So this curve, I like to describe it by saying early in my career, there was a big jump in productivity to be able to build charts, build reports, and share those with the decision makers who needed to make decisions based off visual information. And for me personally, this continued to some extent. It extended into tools like MS Excel and Access. But what happened was that the total amount of work just increased. So the same tool that was initially very productive, you just had to do 10 times the amount of work. So your executive or your plant manager liked the chart, now they just wanted 100 more charts. So there was sort of a drop in productivity. In this middle of this career, I worked for a big bank. And what that really meant was that you didn't have access to a lot of self-service tools. So you were still stuck using basic tools, and the other databases that were there were like Teradata, Oracle, and you didn't have any self-service access to those. You just took what you could get, and that's what you ran with. But what's happened in the last few years is, for me personally, I started using Tableau about 6 years ago, I think, and it sparked my interest in doing data visualization again. I had, completely gone away from it because it was such a laborious activity. But with Tableau, it was joyful again. You could actually build and automate and do interactive things, and it was fun again. And that really sparked my interest and made me excited about this field. And in most recent history, the last couple of years, I've started working with a couple of other tools. And this is the jump that I want to encourage other Tableau developers to think about. If you're going to expand your skill set, then cloud data warehousing, things like Snowflake, BigQuery, those are some great places to think about storing data to build data warehouses. And then there are a whole suite of other tools like Tableau Prep Builder for wrangling data, but there are also some other sets of tools that allow you to interact and build large data sets and manage that data in a cloud data warehouse. And you'll see this big swoop up in productivity, and that's what we're experiencing right now. And I like to raise this with the group because the barrier to entry is so low that you can, with very little technical expertise, you can go to AWS, Amazon Web Services, that is, and you can start your own instance of Snowflake, your own instance of Matillion, and within a day, you'll be up and running and building a data warehouse. What does that mean for us, all of us on the phone as Tableau developers? We are first Tableau developers, and then second, many of us have multiple hats that we wear. Perhaps you're doing ad hoc analysis for your stakeholders and you're a data scientist and you're digging deep, or you're building data sources. This set of tools that I'm talking about now, I think the best title that's emerging these days is analytics engineer. And here's a reference to an article where this author puts forth this idea of analytics engineer as a person who is first and foremost building clean data sets to empower their users to do self-service. They're transforming, cleaning, testing, and deploying, documenting data, and they're also incorporating best practices from software development. So a term that you'll see emerging is called data ops, and this is built off the idea of DevOps, which itself is built off the idea of agile software development, source control, those sort of things. So this is a new opportunity for us to think about expanding our careers and growing not only for ourselves personally, but bringing something more to the firms that you work with. The theme here, the Tableau developer, I feel, is particularly positioned for this role. To expand, to begin at Tableau, to understand how to do Tableau Desktop, how to manage data sources in Tableau Server, how to do wrangling of data with Tableau Prep. Because more than anything, whenever we're building our dashboards for our clients and for our audiences, they're only seeing that last 20%. I call this the iceberg problem. Your client only sees the dashboard, and once you've made it beautiful, they can appreciate that. But what they don't and shouldn't necessarily have an appreciation for is the other 80% of the work that you're doing. You're designing your data, you're trying to find your data, you're working through governance and access issues with your IT group. And that is a huge portion of the activity that you have to go through. So in order to get yourself into the right place, you want to create value for your client, but you also have to work through how do you, or why, sorry, let me say it this way. The Tableau developer, whenever you're building, for example, a business rule into a Tableau workbook, you've got a calculation for ROI and it's unique to your firm. If you put that ROI calculation into a Tableau workbook, that's fine, that's gonna work for your workbook. However, if you have to maintain 60 workbooks, then you have to repeat that same calculation 60 times across 60 workbooks, and you're responsible for any changes. That can become a maintenance nightmare. So the more that you can expand your skill set to understand the cloud data warehouse, like in Snowflake or BigQuery, and managing it with one of the add-on tools like Matillion, or there's a dozen others, you can push that calculation back into the database. And at that point, your database and your table and maybe your curated data source that sits on top of Tableau Server, that's the thing that's going to contain your calculation for your ROI. And you only have to, you can always go back to that table and reference there, and you don't have to repeat the calculation elsewhere. So that's your opportunity. A lot of these, so again, Tableau Desktop Server is for visual analysis, but when it comes to ingesting, engineering, modeling, and warehousing data, there's a whole other suite of tools that you can also rely on. Tableau Prep Builder, Tableau Prep Builder will get you there. There are also other things, depending on your scale, that can help to enhance your work. These tools that we're talking about, the characteristics of them that help us extend our skill set. The characteristics are that they have a low barrier to entry. This isn't Teradata where it costs millions of dollars to get an installation, or Oracle. It's Snowflake is like $3 an for example, not to sell a product here, but they have a low cost, and we'll just leave it there. They also have you're also very little technical expertise is required to go out to Amazon or GCP and launch these services. So for example, I have a Matillion server and a Snowflake instance myself that I just use for hobby work. And I'm not a hardcore developer myself, definitely not. So if I can do it, anybody can. So regardless of how you build or what tools you use, you're still bringing in data from systems of record, you're storing that data, and you're going to try to model it for consumption. And along this spirit, dimensional modeling is a key idea to think about. So I think I have a dimensional modeling, facts and dimensions, same as dimensions and measures. So not only is it tools to think about, but there are also practices that have been developed over the last 20 years with data warehousing that when you look at it through this new lens of cloud data warehousing, there are certain things that you want to pull out from those practices. You can disregard the hardware and the performance optimization stuff because now it's all service, software as a service, and you only pay for what you use. So you don't have to spend your thought cycles on trying to optimize some piece of hardware. You only have to worry about the data. So that's one of the benefits of the new tools. If you're building your team, or if you're if you're the data person at your company, you are already this analytics engineer. That's who you are. If you're looking to build a data team, that's who you want to start with. Someone who can own your platform from end to end. They provide tactical coverage as strategic data assets are built out. And what I would recommend is from that point, and this is also consistent with the article about analytics engineers, as you move from having an analytics engineer, what you want to do is you want to hire a data engineer who's actually going to make your platform more robust, build those data artifacts for you, help you with modeling data into dimensional modeling with facts and dimensions. And from there, you just grow your team with analysts to support your audience. That was a very rapid overview of this opportunity that we all have as Tableau developers for our career. If you feel free to reach out you can contact us through the Charlotte Tableau user group, or feel free to reach out to me directly. I'd be happy to help you. And with that, I think, like I said, we're going to hold Q&A until the end. Christopher, would you like to turn it over to Christopher Scott for a presentation on Shepherds and Sherpas?
No, yeah, thank you, William, so much. Kent has a quick demo of the Esri Web Data Connector and show off the 2019.4, and then I will finish us off with the Shepherds and Sherpas, as well as any other question and answer. So Kent, whenever you're ready, just go on and share and hop on with your audio as well.
Great. Can you hear me all right?
I can. Can you hear us?
Yes, everything's
great.
Smoothly now. It's delightful to hear you again.
There we go. Perfect.
Yeah, the quick demo I wanted to show was really just in 2019.4 and any version going forward, we're going to enable this web data connector that will allow you to connect to ArcGIS REST endpoints. So here I have the beta connector inside of Tableau, and I'm going to go ahead and paste in a server endpoint, which is from Cumberland, North Carolina. Somebody had sent me this and said they really wanted to make this easier to work with. So when I hit connect, so now it's reaching out to that web service, basically loading in all of the geographic tables that are available. I've never actually used this, so let's go ahead and pull out plumbing zones. When I say update now, it should load the table. But like all web data connectors, when I go to the sheet, it's going to generate an extract from that data set. Great, that was really quick for web data. And I'm just going to drag the shape field, in this case, onto the view. And let's try zone as the color. And that's it. That's the quick demo. Right now I'm pulling this data directly from this public data source, web data source, and it's bringing it in like it's a shapefile. But of course, I'm connected through the web data platform, right? I don't have to go download a shapefile. I just need that URL. So for anyone who's working with, ArcGIS ecosystem and like the public sector sort of set of services, then this will be very useful to you. I would say if anyone wants to try this out while it's in the beta form, right now it's really functional. Please just reach out again to my email or through Twitter or through Christopher or William, any one of the leaders here, and I'll make sure to get you hooked up with it so you can play with your own services and try that in Tableau. So that's the last thing I wanted to show William.
Great.
But I'll
Let me,
keep it back.
yeah, Kent, we actually have two quick questions for you. One specifically regarding mapping and the distance calc that you had shown earlier. Is that distance calc using straight line or network distance?
No, it's a straight line calculation that's geodesic. So it's actually Kearney's geodesic calculation, if you're into geeky geodetics. But it follows the curve of the Earth. So if you're looking at, say, flights from Charlotte to Seattle, you're going to see a curved line go across the United States. If you're looking at these local data sets like the bike share data, again, it's all going to be straight line, and the distances again are based on the actual straight line as well. So they're not following the street network or anything like that at this point.
Oh, great. So kind of as a crow flies, as it were.
Yep.
All right. And the second question, I don't know if this is not specifically related to mapping. I didn't have an answer off the top of my head, but maybe you can help out here. When using the measure names as filters, is there any way to filter out some of the metrics? Anonymous attendee asks, and I'm assuming like you would in a set where you create a non-null set and then use that as a filter. Is there any way to do that with measure names?
Chris, I'm not sure off the top of my head either. I just want 10 minutes to play with it, and I could probably figure that out. But maybe we can take that one offline if you know who asked the question, and we can make sure to get a response.
If you are the anonymous attendee who asked the filtering out measure names, Kent mentioned his. If you want to throw up your Twitter handle again on that PowerPoint. Yep. So Data Kmart, pretty easy to remember there. Or you can reach out to him via kmartin@tableau.com. And so he'll work. Feel free to reach out to him or I or William, anybody on here, and we'll be glad to help you out with that. So I think that's it. We have the follow up on some apply all filters, but we think we have that covered. So Kent, thank you again so much for your time. I know you've got a hard stop. We are still taking questions and answers. If you do have more questions for Kent, again, kmartin@tableau.com and @datakmart on Twitter. And Kent, you will be at Tableau Conference in Vegas?
Yeah, I'll be at Tableau Conference. I have an intermediate session on obviously working with maps and doing some spatial analysis. But I'll also be at the kiosk area for analytics, helping people understand what's coming new and working through some demos with folks. But yeah, I'll be around at some of the community things. I think you even mentioned the last event of the conference, the community tips and tricks. I might just be one of the special judges. I say special because I hope I'm special enough, but I get to be wowed by the community and some of the tips and tricks. So I look forward to seeing a lot of you there. Fantastic. Well, that sounds great. Well, we look forward to seeing you there too, Kent. Thank you again. All right. Thanks, everyone. I'll sign off. All right. So welcome, everyone. And we are taking, continuing to take questions, and I will answer we will go through the Q&A at the end here. But basically, I just wanted to share with you all some of my thoughts that I have been giving over the past few weeks and months and years as William had done. And so I just wanted to share that with this group. And again, this is just real-time, engagement of where I am as both a leader in our community as well as a leader here, and even not being a leader when you are you're following what do you need. And so as a leader here, I often have the opportunity to both shepherd and to, as somebody called it, I wish I could put my finger on who really came up with this concept, but I'll attribute it to one of my really good friends and our Tableau account manager, Brooke Lee, who is just fantastic. And she said something to this effect, and I said, that's kind of what a Sherpa does. So I'll give her credit where credit's due. And but
So I kind of want to talk about these things. I will go through this pretty quickly as William did, and just talk about what is the main difference here. And as not only is you're leading, if you're a manager, if you are that kind of William talked about building a team of data analytics professionals and engineers, or as you will see, if you are a parent, these are some great parenting opportunities here. So I am, again, my name is Christopher Scott. You can find me at CG Scott DVA. And I am a husband and a father, and I have 4 children, and I'm off of there. There we go. The youngest will be 2 next month, and the oldest is 9. So I often have a lot of opportunities to test out these theories of when to lead and really when to just carry them up the mountain. Like I said before, I'm the leader of the Raleigh-Durham Tug, and I'm also a Tableau User Group ambassador. And so, as I mentioned, I did want to make that offer again. I mentioned this before. I helped William when they were getting the Charlotte Tug restarted. I helped the folks in the Piedmont Triad, John, David, and Bonnie, to really get what are some best practices with user groups, what works, what doesn't, and also making myself available to speak. So again, if you are interested, both as in a community like your city, or even if you're, let's say, at App State and you want to do an internal user group, both either at your company or at your university, I work with all types of communities, and so that's really what I'm passionate about here, and that's kind of what the genesis of this talk kind of came from. I'm also a COE leader here at Genworth Financial, and so I work in the mortgage insurance division here in Raleigh. So let's just jump in first. The idea of all of this, I think William mentioned it earlier, really is this idea that self-service is an absolute must within any healthy Tableau community. Smart people, it involves smart people. So, I'm sure we've all heard these quotes before from Steve Jobs. It doesn't make sense to hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they can tell us what to do. So if you want to hire great people and have them stay working for you, you have to let them make a lot of decisions. You have to be run by ideas, not hierarchy. So the best ideas have to win, otherwise good people don't stay. So if you are a manager, if you are leading a team, or if you want to lead a team someday, this is why it is critical that we have you have the smart people doing what they do and making decisions, helping to analyze the data. And again, going back to everything that William said before, and Tableau's vision is again key in this, that people who know the data should ask the questions. So the closer you can get to asking those questions and getting the answers, those are the people whose hands we should be putting on that analytics vision. And as I mentioned before, this is much like children. There are times where you just want to, as I've said before, just take the mouse from that person and just say, no, move it right here, or do just this, or do just that. But you often have to let them make their mistakes, and learn from that and grow. So that's kind of the idea here. So what is a Sherpa? A Sherpa helps to set up camp, manage hikers. They run ahead, make sure the tea is on the boil. I thought that was really funny. One of the primary definitions in a Sherpa is so they can make sure that the tea is on the boil. So those of you that are coffee drinkers or tea drinkers, I thought that was really funny. They are extraordinary human beings. So all of those smart people that are in your organization, they are quite above and beyond the typical person. They know the area and they're highly skilled. So how this relates back to your business. They know the technologies. They know how to code. They're very, very skilled individuals. I'm probably not going to use this one to tie back, but they're actually, so over the course of generations and centuries, these individuals have evolved to thrive in low oxygen environments. But the key here is they're not invincible. So even the most qualified and technical Sherpa can get worn out. I actually read, I didn't put it on this slide for just kind of shock reason, but one of the studies that I read actually said a majority of the deaths that happen out in the Himalayas, for instance, are not novice climbers. They're actually from Sherpas. So it really does prove the point that these highly skilled individuals, they can do a lot, and they're really valuable, but they're not invincible. So what are some pros to using a Sherpa, especially in your Tableau community and environment? You get the quick wins. You get consistent and well-designed dashboards. They're gonna, I mean, for lack of a better word, you're gonna get the sexy dashboards that you're after. Folks like Ryan Sleeper that are just really developing. He's one of the primary examples that, I mean, you've got folks like him that are out there and creating some amazing content. And Ryan but he is a primary example that he's one person. He can't do it all. So now you're gonna get the the happy stakeholders, and they're gonna get all this. But what are your cons? One of the biggest cons is the mistrust. So having this idea that only highly qualified, highly skilled people can do these dashboards. They're the only ones that can create anything. So when you have that amongst your organization, you're like Steve Jobs says, you're going to lose those smart people, because it's all a matter of how qualified are you, how many Tableau certifications do you have, how many letters do you have behind your degree. Those are the only people that can really make analytic decisions, then you're going to be already one step behind. As I mentioned before, it is rate limiting, and it's a bottleneck. When you only have one or two or even a small team of people creating all the content, they're not going to be able to keep up with the demand. And so we've all seen these pictures before. This is really what it starts to look like. You've got all these requests coming in, and only one little spot for them to go out. And so you have these issues. And as I mentioned, they may be strong, but they will tire out. So this is the typical data engineer or super highly skilled Tableau developer, and they only have so many arms. The average person doesn't have 4 arms. They only have 2, so they can only hold so much at one time. And then the final thing is the growth will be slight and it will be slow. So the growth within your team, within your organization, it will be extremely slow in the amount of not only adoption of these dashboards, because when you're only able to push out 1 or 2 at a time, you will start really this slow. It may look really good, but people are going to be really jonesing for more and more, and so that's really where Tableau comes in. So now let's talk about the shepherd. So what is a shepherd? I think we all kind of have a good idea of what a shepherd is. So tending and caring for sheep, that's probably the #1 job description there. They also protect from predators. Again, just like the Sherpa comment, I don't really know how this connects to our typical business environment, but you can think about your kind of protecting from just bad visualization design or whatever you want to go with that. You feed them, so all about feeding your developers, your team with good resources, feeding them, sending them to Tableau conference, wink, wink, if you're in that position, and really just allowing them, giving them good things that they need to be successful, and then giving them solution and let them go out on their own. This is probably one of the hardest things that I've had to do with both in a team of analysts as well as being a parent. Giving them the ability to go out and make some mistakes, fall down, skin their knees, proverbial and literally, and allowing them to make those mistakes and grow, because that is really what's going to be the best for them, for you as taking off that kind of micromanagement cap, and ultimately for your business. So So we're going to start with the cons here really quickly. More opportunity for failure. Obviously, you're not going to get the sexy dashboards out of the gate. There's going to be some junk there. So you're going to have to wade through that. And why are you going to fail? Sheep are dumb. So you may have some very smart individuals, but the first time they get their hands on Tableau or any data tool, they're not going to be extremely proficient. So just be aware of that and learn where to grow. As I mentioned, naturally worse dashboards and visualizations, but that's only at first. We've all seen the curve there, that it doesn't take long for any of us, right, in our journeys to get really good with these tools really quickly. And then, you know, the time to get to the production environment may not be as quick as a well-polished dashboard, but certainly it will grow. So what are the pros here? Obviously, it's all about empowering your desktop developers, your Tableau users. We want the supermen, the superwomen. We want to allow them, give them their spot to shine. You know, the more we can empower, the bigger we grow individually and as a business. You are getting those business relevant questions, those things that only people who have spent, you know, time learning the data and learning the business and all of these things. You're only going to get those things as you empower those users and as you allow them to grow and to give them some leash. And then this is the final thing, is really that opportunity for growth, both individually and corporately, just to reiterate that point. So where are you? So do you need a few quick wins? You've got a lot of messy and discombobulated and look like somebody has colored those dashboards with a crayon? Or do you want to showcase the art of the possible? Do you need to give people some inspiration there? So you might need a Sherpa. You might need to give somebody that hand, carry them up the mountain, allow them to see what the top looks like, and then allow them to grow from there. Or are you developing most or all the dashboards, or do you have a team that's doing that? Do you have a lack of trust in your people, Tableau developers, or just people in general? Or if you're a parent, in your children, right? Are you stuck in a waterfall methodology? Any of these things you may need to let go. You may need to just help people and shepherd them in the direction and give them the resources they need to grow and develop, because ultimately yourself, your organization, and they will be much better off for it. So you must have a Sherpa or two to start off with. Provide the resources, enable, encourage, incentivize. Swag is cheap. Coffee is cheap. Little snacks. I mean, all of these things are really, really, really cheap in the grand scheme of enabling and encouraging your people. So it's obviously going to take one step back, two steps forward, and be careful, because they just might surprise you. And that is the end of my little spiel. And so let me take a look at the Q&A if anybody has any questions. Let's see. Great. So we've got yes. Go ahead, William.
We've had a couple of questions.
Okay.
A couple of questions. Yep. I took a stab at a couple of those. So folks who asked them, you should be able to see the written answer there.
Fantastic.
Probably. Should we open it up for Q&A? I think one thing that might be worth asking is, how did everybody enjoy the show, and what kind of things would you like to hear about or learn about on our next virtual Carolinas Tableau user group?
Yes,
maybe
for sure.
Type your answers in the chat there, and we'll make sure that we copy that out. Yeah,
and I think to that end, if you can't, yes, so we'll send a link and we'll share the slides. And to that end, we will send out a survey, and we'll send out the email with all the information. But please, you know, not only just in this call, but give us feedback. This community is all about you. And so we want you to be involved, not only in what content is presented, but you to present as well. So, you know, if you can't make it out to one of the physical tugs, William, that's probably the thing that I am most thankful about you, is the opportunities there that you give once a month. So no matter where you're at in your Tableau journey, I wish we could do monthly here in Raleigh. But for sure, I think that providing those opportunities once a month to get out and be present and be part of the community, I am very grateful for that. We have a question here: when's the next conference? So Tableau conference is coming up in 2 weeks, November the 12th through the 15th, and that is in Las Vegas, Nevada. And William, I think you had said, so there are still, Jordan, if you I'm sitting here looking on the website. Registration is still open. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can still register at tc19.tableau.com. That is TC, Tableau Conference 19.tableau.com. You can register there. Spots are still open. Oh, you mean the next session is being held? Sorry. We will try to do these a few times a year. Right now, we're just kind of trying to get an idea of who all is interested. What content are you interested in sharing and in hearing about? We want to provide the opportunity for lots of folks within our great 2 states here to share and to provide this community output. So look for another email. I'd say probably the middle of next year. We'll start with going a few times a year and then go from there. William, any thoughts there?
I think you've got it wrapped up beautifully, Christopher. Thank you so much.
Okay. Absolutely. Thank you so much, William. Thank you. I know Kent already has had to jump off there. Jordan, thank you again so much for all of your help in this. If we could all give you a virtual round of applause, we all will, because we are extremely thankful for all that you do for the Tableau community and our community in general. If you are, I will make a plea to anyone that's on this call right now. If you do come out to Tableau conference, come find Jordan at the community meet and greet and tell her thank you. All of this is possible because of her and her great team there in Seattle at Tableau. I want to thank all of you that have joined us this morning/afternoon. We look forward to seeing you in person at our next user group. We look forward to seeing you at Tableau conference, and we look forward to hearing from you both in the survey, via email. Come again, find us on Twitter at RDUTUG, at CLTTUG, and we have our own Twitter accounts, but find us out on Twitter. That's where the Tableau community happens. That's where we talk and we interact with one another. So we look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful day and go get on it.